All right, welcome back. It's April the 25th, 2022. We are exactly 40 days away from the undisputed, full undisputed. That means unifying the WBC franchise and WBC titles held by George Kambosos Jr., who's also the IBF, WBA Super, WBO, Ring Magazine champion at 135 pounds after defeating Teofimo Lopez. As it stands right now, the fight's going to be taking place on June the 4th here in the States on primetime ESPN and over on main event pay-per-view. They haven't put it up on their website yet. I have the website pulled up here. For about $60 or so on on June the 5th Australian time. So basically here in the States, it'll be a regular primetime Saturday night card for us, but just like they did Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn, it's going to be a about what time is the card going to start for you guys? About 11 a.m.
Yes, I believe that's correct. It'll be 11 a.m. kickoff or around about then. Yeah, they'll probably start with the prelims and then go into probably the main card. Probably start about 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, so we got some news today. I got Dan Rayfield's Twitter pulled up here, and he says, per source, the Kambosos Haney undercard will include heavyweights Junior 5 versus Lucas Browne, bantamweight contender Jason Moloney versus former title challenger Aston Palicte, and Irish light heavyweight prospect Joe Ward. So basically, I'm guessing pretty much the card is set because you got, of course, now a pay-per-view card here in the States, and normally a pay-per-view card anywhere usually consists of about 4 fights. So you're going to have the main event being Kambosos versus Haney. And then I'm guessing the co-feature or the chief support is going to be Junior 5, Lucas Browne, Jason Moloney, Aston Palicte, and then you spoke to Andrew Moloney a couple of days ago. That interview has been uploaded to the channel before this video if you want to go check it out. And I talked about a lot of things, and he doesn't know who his opponent is yet. But can you just recap your interview with Andrew and what you guys talked about him being possibly both of the cards?
Yeah, well, basically we talked about, is there an opponent for Andrew yet? No, not as yet. Movements with Jason have probably happened over the last 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. I don't know how often Jason speaks to Andrew. They probably talk to each other on a daily basis, but Andrew has not got an opponent as yet. He'll make contact when he does. I'm very surprised to see the Lucas Browne Junior 5 fight because that's sort of out of the blue. There's been no talk about that, but yep, okay, Lucas Browne, yep, fair enough, got him on the card, yep, against the Junior 5, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's pretty much the way that we expected it to go. Would be George, the two Moloney brothers, one other fight, and maybe 1 or 2 dark matches on the prelims. That's what we're expecting. Yeah. I don't think there'd be any more than that. Maybe 7 fight, maybe 3 dark matches or prelim matches that you'll see on Fox. Maybe the other 4, the 3 undercards, and of course the big ones. So
now, do they now? I don't think I've ever asked you this before, but for main event fights, pay-per-view fights, do they normally have prelims that are on Fox over there?
Yes, they do. They always have prelims that are on okay. Fox. If main event, say on a Wednesday night, kicks off at 7 o'clock, their prelims will start at 6, and you'll normally have 2 to 3 prelim fights before they actually start the main event. Very rarely, if they're doing a pay-per-view, will they have dark matches, but those matches will always be on prelims on Fox, and then they switch over to the pay-per-view. So
okay, let's talk about Junior 5, 19-1 with 10 KOs. His last fight was against Joseph Parker. I covered that fight in which he lost a unanimous decision. That was back in February of 2021. So by the time he steps into the ring, he'll be on a 15-month or so layoff. He's taking on Lucas Browne. Lucas Browne, 43 years old, 30-3 with 26 KOs. His last fight was against, how do you pronounce this guy's name? It was in December of the end of 2021, just about 4 months or so ago. How do you pronounce this guy's name?
Okay, but they call him Django Opalou.
There you go. Okay, we're going to call him Django Opalou then.
Yeah, I think it's Fafita, or that's Django Opalou, yeah. So, yeah, a very rough, very tough Polynesian fighter. Took on Justice Haney for the Australian title in Justice Haney's debut. Justice completely outboxed him. I think it was an 8th round ref or corner stoppage, one of the two. Yeah, but to be knocked out in the fashion that he did, because Lucas Browne, to his credit, absolutely leveled him in round 7. And he was taking a beating, and Lucas just knocked him out cold. So
Lucas was losing the fight.
Lucas was losing the fight 5 rounds to 1, and then just bang, pulled that big right hand and just knocked Django out cold. He was out for hitting the ground.
And remember, we were talking about when we covered Lucas Browne versus Paul Gallen that getting knocked out by a footballer, you know, that he shouldn't be fighting again, especially how he got brutally knocked out in 1 round. That was pretty disgraceful, you know, like for a boxer, like an actual boxer.
Exactly.
Like he didn't just lose, he got blasted in 1 round.
Yeah, I don't think Lucas took that fight very seriously, but you can clearly see that he took the next one pretty seriously.
Yeah, well, yeah, because, you know, I mean, now look at him. Now look at him. He's on a pay-per-view. So that just goes to show you, you know, how you can turn things around. Lucas Browne, in the past fought Dave Allen. Dylan White, he got knocked out. That was on HBO. And then the biggest fight of his career, you know, before the Dylan White fight was against Ruslan Chagiev, where he had won the WBA world title. And then that belt has been pretty much cursed since. You're going to have Trevor Bryan and Daniel Dubois fighting for that title. It's been playing around robin for some time. On June 11th on the Don King card, no less. So overall, I'm fine with Junior 5 versus Lucas Browne, but it's just still like, damn, Lucas Browne's still fighting. But, you know, I'm going to pick Junior 5, and I wouldn't be surprised, despite the fact that he has 10 KOs, I wouldn't be surprised if he ices Lucas Browne. You know, because what I've seen from him and remember from him from when he fought Joseph Parker, he's a very solid fighter.
Very solid. And like Dave Allen did to Lucas Browne, all you have to do is go after the body, and, it's pretty much all over. So, yeah, I mean, Lucas Browne got dropped by Dave Allen in 3 rounds. So you can see where Lucas Browne's weaknesses is. But as I said, I'm looking more forward to the Maloneys. The Maloney brothers.
Well, let's talk about Jason. Jason is going to be taking on, according to Dan Rayfield, Jason is 23-2 with 18 KOs, coming off of a win against Francisco Portillo on the undercard of Michaela Mayer a few weeks back. I did a video on that card. He had a what some can consider an upset win over a Joshua Greer, where he looked, you know, phenomenal. And then, of course, that fight in which he went to war and was stopped in 7 rounds against current Unified Ring Magazine champion Naoya Inoue. And then he fought in a very close fight against Emmanuel Rodriguez back in the World Boxing Super Series. So basically, you know, I think me and Big J on a consensus here is that, you know, of the Moloney brothers, we consider Jason to be the better and more skilled of the Moloney brothers. Now, Aston Palicte, I've covered him before in the past, multiple fights. He's 28-4-1, 23 KOs, 31 years old. He's on the 3-fight winning streak, but let's face it, the competition he's been fighting hasn't been really good. You know, in COVID, 2 fights against a 10-14, and then another one against a 10-12. 1 fight in 2021, last October, against a guy who was 15-9, all in the Philippines. But back in 2019, Kazuki Ioka, he fought him in a fight where he was winning, but was stopped in 10 rounds. He was winning that fight on all 3 judges' scorecards. And then a year before that, he fought a split draw against Adani Nietes for the vacant WBO title at 115 pounds. Now, this fight is taking place at 118 against Moloney. But overall, he's a very, very dangerous fighter with those 23 KOs for Jason Moloney. And I would not be surprised if this ends up being the chief support and not Junior 5 Lucas Browne, because this is the type of fight that can lead, I would say, not a pay-per-view, but over in Australia, a Fox Sports type of card. Over here in the States, it can lead a ESPN plus type of card. It is a quality fight.
I agree. I agree. I think Jason versus this guy will be the chief support. I don't think they're going to throw. Lucas Browne will probably be the first fight on the actual pay-per-view. If they're going to have a 4-fight card, it'll most likely go Lucas, Andrew, Jason, George versus Haney. So that's the way I think they're going to do it.
Yeah, Palicte is currently ranked number 14 by the WBO. Remember, he's moving up from 115 pounds. So he's ranked number 14 by the WBO at 118 pounds and not ranked by any of the other sanctioning bodies from what I can see. But don't be surprised if this fight still gets squeezed in as some type of WBO eliminator. If not, I don't think it's going to be a final eliminator, but they're going to try to make this fight definitely for something, especially since John Rio Casimiro will likely be stripped very soon of his title, and now you have Paul Butler, who is the WBO interim champion. So what path do you think you got a chance to talk to his brother? What path do you think he's going to take before we move on to the main event and talk about that? You think he's going to go after the WBC, or now that Paul Butler's champion, try to go after that that WBO, because Casimiro may be moving up. He's been having issues with that weight for some time.
Well, as I spoke to Andrew, and you can go to our website, our website, and check it out on the YouTube page. Both of those boys are now, I believe, going after the WBO. I spoke to Andrew yesterday in regards to the number one contender, the Thailand fighter, whose name I can't pronounce. He is having issues or doesn't want to come to Australia for whatever reason. They were still in negotiations, from what Andrew told me yesterday, that they were still in negotiations for a number one contender spot for Anito Donair's WBC 118 title. But I believe that both Moloney brothers are now going to be focused on the WBO route.
Okay.
So if that works out, Casimiro goes up, Paul Butler gets bumped up, or what's the word I'm looking for, elevated to the full championship, and then Jason fights Paul Butler, which is a fight that been brewing, for the last 3 years? I mean, how often have we talked about, I've mentioned this more than once, that Paul Butler's going to fight Jason Moloney at some point.
Yeah. And
wasn't Paul Butler a former IBF 118 champ, or was he 115?
I believe it was in a smaller weight division. I believe it was one. I believe so. I believe it was one smaller weight division.
Yeah, but he's certainly been a world champ before, and those two have been, that fight's been brewing for about 3 or 4 years now. Mm-hmm. So, and it would be an excellent fight. So yeah, but both Moloney brothers are going after the WBO route, from what Andrew told me, and it's pretty much what's going to happen. So.
Okay, well, let us know down below in the description, in the comments, how do you feel about the undercard if those fights turn out to be true, and what would you rate the undercard from, let's say, an A scale to an F scale, and you can use plus minus. Me personally, I'm going to rate the undercard. I'm going to give it, because I like the main event, I'm going to give it a B plus. No, I'm going to give it a B. I'm going to give it about a B.
Yeah, I think I was going to say B plus myself, because, obviously, it's the best card that they can put on with the because people got to remember, it's a top-ranked card with top-ranked fighters. So what they've done is pretty much, the best of what they could get, because remember, a lot of other fighters in Australia are all tied up with other commitments. Yeah. So there's Paul Gallen, Nikita Zoo on May 11th. There's Justice Haney versus Joseph Goodall coming up in June or July. I think June 15th it is. There's Breedis versus Jai Patai card with fighters committed to that on DNL. So there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of fighters that are committed elsewhere. So for what they're doing, I think they're doing pretty good. So
okay, let's move on to the main event. Any updates on what's going on with George Kambosos? He had a media workout last week, 20-0 with 10 KOs. We're working on getting to the fight. We already have that in motion. And Devin Haney, have you heard about when he's going to be heading over? It's 40 days.
No, I haven't. I was about to ask you the same question.
He's got to be going over soon.
He would be able to slip through the cracks and just walk through Melbourne Airport without anyone knowing or caring who he is. It's not like there's going to be a media frenzy when he gets here. Mm. So he'll be able just to walk, come on through, and everyone's like, who's who? And just,
Yeah, I would imagine since the fight is 40 days away, they want to be over there at least a month before, because his father and and co-trainer Bill Haney did say, that they want to get over there in a reasonable amount of time to get acclimated to the weather and the time.
Yeah, definitely, because it's late April. As I've saying before, the weather starts turning real shit real quick. Around this time of year, it starts getting cold, starts getting windy, it starts getting miserable. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice, clear, it's a nice day today, but that can change on a dime in this climate, this time of year. So.
Some other news, and Andrew talked about a little bit yesterday when you talked to him on the media call, is that it is a two-way rematch clause to where both of the fights, well, it's a one-way where both of the fights are going to be in Australia. That's from what I'm understanding.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, that's been talked about since from the day dot that the rematch will happen in Australia. So
Yeah,
I thought there was some
no matter who
confusion.
wins. So, but from my understanding, even if Devin Haney gets beat badly, they're still going to do it again. Is like that's the deal?
Well, I mean, I believe it. You know, as I've said, we know boxing long enough to know that it doesn't happen until they're both in the ring and that bell goes ding.
Yeah.
So I don't believe. Yeah, I mean, there was supposed to be a Justice Herney Paul Gallen rematch. Yeah, bullshit. That ain't gonna happen. So, yeah, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. So let's just focus on the fight that we've got at hand. If there's a rematch, yeah.
And how do you think the fight?
There's a rematch.
And how do you think the fight's going to go? To refresh the viewers' memories.
9th round TKO. George wins.
All right, and me personally, I got Devin Haney winning a 116-112 decision. You know, so remember, we're going to be here. Big J's going to be at the event, and I'm going to be here after. You know, of course, it's going to be regular Saturday night for me, and we're going to be covering the fight and the post-fight press conference. The way the division is set up right now, let me break it down for you guys really quick. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at T Street Controversy, follow Big J at Old Mate Big J on Twitter, and just takes you a couple of seconds. Just like the video and subscribe if you haven't. Looking at the 135-pound division, of course, Devin Haney and George Kambosos, they're both pretty much taken up for the year where they're going to be, I guess, you know, all the titles at 135 pounds are going to be taken up for the year. Vasil Lomachenko, who's ranked #1 by the WBC and WBO, well, he's off at war. No telling when he's going to be returning. Gustavo Lemos is #1 by the IBF and the IBF mandatory. And then you have Tank Davis taking on Rolly Romero. It's likely rumored to be Tank Davis's last fight with PBC and Mayweather Promotions. He's fighting Rolly Romero on pay-per-view here in the States for $75. Many fans are pissed off about that. And that's taking place 1 week before here in the States on basic cable, regular ESPN, you're going to have the Undisputed. So the Tank Davis situation is really peculiar. And then you have Ryan Garcia, who returned a couple of weeks ago in a lackluster performance. He's hoping off of his name, you know, and exposure that he'll be able to jump the line to be able to get the winner of the two fights between George Kambosos and George Kambosos and Devin Haney. But overall, the 135-pound division is very deep. Oh, by the way, Isaac Cruz, who knocked out Yorkis Gamboa, and I'm not really impressed by that because Yorkis Gamboa was just old. You know, he shouldn't have been in there. You know, but nonetheless, the 135-pound division is pretty stacked. How do you rate the 135-pound division so far?
I think it's probably #3 out of all the divisions. I think #1's 147, then 154, and then 135.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on people's opinions, but you'd have to say the top three are 147, 154, 135.
Yeah, and then you can make an argument for heavyweight and then go from there. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and when you look at all the talent, so for example, if like Devin is likely going to move up if he wins, you know, and he would have to win both of the fights, you know, both fights against George Kambosos. He will likely move up, vacate and move up because he's been talking about moving up in weight for quite some time. Now, as far as Kambosos, I think that if he was to win, you know, and you talked about it, he would likely stay because to me personally, he doesn't seem, you know, he seems a little too small for 140 in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, well, I've known a couple of guys that have spoken to him personally, and he says, yeah, he's not going anywhere.
And then, and if he were to stay, there's so many big fights at 135 for him to make. For example, it's safe to say that it would be Lomachenko if you know, after both of the Haney fights, or even if it's just one Haney fight and he wins, it would be Lomachenko next. And then, you know, he could do Ryan Garcia, you know, or Tank Davis or whoever, one of those guys. And it's just, you know, big fight after that.
Yeah, there's at least a good 6 to 7 fights, including Billy Gibb if he stays in the rankings, that George could have that would, you know, be quite significant. So
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's more competition for him at 135 than if he goes to 140. I think he's better off just staying where he is. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. He's going to stay where he is.
Yeah. All right. Closing thoughts?
No, I'm just looking forward to the event. June the 5th in Australia. I can't wait. It's only up the road for me, so very convenient. Yep, I can't wait for the event to thing. We're just got to wait for Andrew Moloney to secure his opponent and, wait for fight week. So bring it on.
Yeah. So the next time anything of note comes up, or in fact when the undercard becomes fully official, then we'll do a full breakdown again and just to give you guys an update on what's going on. In the meantime, take your time out, like the video, subscribe, follow us both on Twitter, me at T Street Controversy and Big J at Old Mate Big J, and subscribe and see you on Fight Night and Fight Week. Thanks for watching.